What this one was having to do with science. I called it self-assembly, which is a kind of a nano term. And so it's science and nature, both of the same thing, focusing on Isaac Newton. But so I think I did this one probably back in like whenever that big rain and the big thaw. And I had been doing a couple building structures. Well, that when this horrible rain came, it came at the same time that somebody sent me the postcard of Rose Wharf. I just thought, what happens when all that rain, you know, Rose Wharf melting, and I just painted the buildings, and I painted them melting, you know, melting like ice, falling into, and the water's above the regular ocean water line, because this is the port, and this is like one of the tugboats going by, and it was just the water. This is a painting of my nieces, twins, in utero. So I call it Laura and Krista, 1969. And how happy they are, or they were and are, to have come into the world. So it's kind of like I got the world on a string, and hi, here we are. We're happy to see you. They probably are wondering, is this Laura, is this Krista? The representation is the joining together, and that they are out in the universe, which is to me the same as being in utero. It's all a journey. And to me it's just a very happy, soothing birth, which once again goes into science and nature with the theme of the show. Okay. It's Isaac Newton. It's a portrait of Isaac Newton done from another portrait of Isaac Newton, which was done in, I think, 1702, because that's all I really had to go from, were other portraits of Isaac Newton. He has been an inspiration for me in my life, just because I love how he embraced science and nature with equal value. Even though he was like the father of science, he also, you know, felt that nature was science. So I've done several portraits, and this is one. This is called Gravity. My influence for this is once again Isaac Newton. You can kind of see the cannon representing the ball that would, the cannonball that would go like around the world. I chose the head as sort of an African motif. It just spoke to me as an African issue, being like the cradle of civilization. And then for some reason I wanted some sort of a duck or chicken or fowl, and that's what I did here. Here represents like the secret of that was revealed from all that he was showing us, and the world, you know, sort of like hiding from the world, but then revealing to the world. Once again, here's a sense of gravity as well. Another sense of gravity. Here I have like this sort of sagging breasts. I have, you know, mankind that hasn't stood up yet, but will. The different levels of walking, and the pain of it all, which I thought I represented here. And then just sort of peeking through the fabric, the torn fabric of knowledge and information is just, I had this as a coming through the fabric of knowledge, and that's gravity. This is Drew Faust, the president of Harvard, and even though the whole theme is about science, you may say, why is Drew Faust here is involved in science? Well, that I thought I would honor her as the person who is now part of our university, who is a little more pro-science and certainly more women in science, and that is why she figures into this show in science. This is called Dick Cheney's cat.
And the whole idea of Dick Cheney's cat is he's backed into a corner. He's afraid. I hope this represents him staring at Dick Cheney. His whiskers are on fire, thinking that Dick Cheney has lit his whiskers on fire. I hope I get the sense that he's backed into a corner and he's wobbling. So, and the reason why this ties into the science and nature issue is that this is an example of the worst use of science and nature. And I represented it in Dick Cheney's cat. What I have here is another Isaac Newton, and once again done from a painting. And this one I believe was from 1692, if the other one was 1702. And the same artist who painted the other one. And I just was into painting different portraits, different, you know, representations of Isaac Newton, and so that's really all this is. This once again with the theme of the cannon, where he talks about the cannon and the cannonball circling the earth. So here's a cannon kind of going off from the top of his head. He's very much into amalgams, and so I did a lot of just kind of, you know, streaking silver and that type of thing. You'd have to almost know his life to know how these elements were part of this, and these different things were part of his life. But I also just loved the way it looked. I loved the stroking, I loved the colors, I loved the silver. So a lot of it was just me loving it. Yes, I just sold to the Hills, Craig and Heather Hill, and actually Craig, I read one of his books. Well, he translated a French book, and the illustrator was Edward Zorel.